Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back to your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we are going to be talking about Ripple and XRP, as well as the vast majority of crypto and finance. And with that being said, let's dive on in. So, do you guys remember these dates? November 19th. This is what we are waiting for. In roughly 3 more days, we start to see the rollout of ISO 20022. Now, for some people, they think that this is going to be a big nothing event. And if you are waiting on this to cause a surge in price action on XRP, then yeah, it probably will be a big nothing event. But what I'm looking at with this is the full-on implementation of ISO 20022, the new standard that is going to set the pace for everything to align perfectly for implementation of DLT and crypto-driven solutions. One of the biggest things about ISO 20022 that I've said multiple times in the past is that this is a change to the actual infrastructure layer. This is changing the entire banking sector. It is, for the first time in history, making a mandatory change for all banks. Banks now need to change their underlying technology. Now, they don't need to rip and replace. All they have to do is tap into APIs that are ISO 20022 compliant. And guess who has the most efficient, the next generation API technology behind it? Ripple with Ripple payments. And this is where XRP also gets tapped in. For everyone that is confused on ISO 20022, no token in this space is ISO 20022 compliant, but the network that the token can be utilized on is ISO 20022 compliant, which means Overledger, for an example, with Quant is ISO 20022 compliant. It doesn't mean that QNT as a token is, but QNT as a token will be utilized within that platform. And that's what makes XRP so lucrative within this new environment that is being forged with ISO 20022. Now, with that in mind, let's dive on deep and let's dive into a few things happening with Swift. ISO 20022 in bytes for payments, a look ahead at 2023's important milestones. Now, this is from April of this year. Now, we have seen quite a bit of changes regarding ISO 20022 within the banking and financial sector that also do include DLT, blockchain, things like that. But if we scroll down, we could actually see a few things regarding this. So one, since the successful migration to ISO 20022 for cross-border payments and reporting, which is CBPR Plus, which started on March 20th of this year, they have actually seen a daily average of more than 500,000 plus messages within this, which is representing around 15% of the total cross-border payments traffic on the Swift network. So this is pretty significant. But beyond this, we have the coexistence. This ends on November of 2025. So 2 years from now, everything will be switched over to ISO 20022. This is the start of everything to change. Everything around the financial space is changing, and it's starting this year with, of course, ISO 20022. Again, this is not going to immediately cause XRP to skyrocket or anything like that, but this is going to be significant because all of this is what we need to see in order for us to get to the destination. So all of this is movement that we want to see, that we are looking forward to seeing, and it's all aligning perfectly with the implementation of DLT and blockchain. Beyond this, we also see over here from Anderson, Swift, the basics. The Swift messaging network is a component of the global payment system. Swift acts as a carrier of the messages containing the payments instructions between financial institutions involved in a transaction. However, the organization does not manage accounts on behalf of individuals or financial institutions, and it does not hold funds from third parties. It also does not perform clearing and settlement functions. After a payment has been initiated, it must be settled through a payment system. Now, why is this significant? Well, because Swift is now going to be tapping into third-party players, which is why I say, anyone that has an API technology that is extremely disruptive, that is extremely changing the game, and is ISO 20022 compliant, is going to be a big player in this environment. And we know Ripple is already extremely focused on this and have been focused on this for a very long time. And this is why I do believe that Ripple, with its Ripple payments platform that does tap into XRP, is going to be a significant player in this new environment that is being forged. Over here, we also have from ISO 2022, let's do it. Swift is updating system with the transaction manager, which will replace messaging with end-to-end transaction orchestration, plus go live for all ISO 22 transactions November of this year, plus able to integrate blockchain via APIs. Why are APIs so important? Why I always talk about them? This is why. Check it out. Key ISO 2022 migration dates. November of this year, Swift Transaction Manager ramp up for all ISO 2022 traffic. And there's no real major changes happening in 2024 besides US chips ISO 2022 migration. But 2025 is the big moment for ISO 2022 with the full-on integration and migration of it. But also over here, here are a few examples of value-added services that can be provided via APIs to the Swift Transaction Manager platform. Smart contract APIs, regulatory compliance reporting APIs, blockchain integration. APIs can facilitate the integration of blockchain technology into the Transaction Manager platform, enabling secure and transparent transactional recording, immutability, and decentralization or decentralized transaction processing. There's a few other ones on here as well, but for the most part, that's the most significant one. We also have here the transaction manager, the TM, will orchestrate transactions end-to-end, replacing the point-to-point messaging that is currently in use. And then also over here, we have strategy delivery. Down here, the API channel. The industry is moving from a purely messaging world to one where Swift is going to enable APIs to be used for payment processing. This is opt-in only, and there is no mandatory action for the end user to take. But this is going to change the entire game. This is them tapping into third-party players. This is very significant. This is where we start to look into, and even down here we have from Anderson as well, yes, Swift is changing structure and will integrate use of third parties. This is where we look at those APIs that are extremely disruptive. And Ripple has one of the most incredible API solutions, but also beyond this, back in the summertime, we've seen the BIS announce that they were already in talks with the Bank of England and Quant for API plug-and-play technology, and they were also looking into what other use cases they could unlock through CBDC API use cases. The entire world is shifting towards APIs, and we already know that Ripple has been at the forefront of this. Also, shout out to Chad Steingraber over here. We do see Middle East. FedNow service provider Volante connects with Volpay next generation settlement engine globally and runs on RippleNet for cross-border settlement. XRP is used. Middle East, Volante, Volpay, FedNow, RippleNet. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because, of course, this is API plug and play. And this is all regarding instant payments with ISO 2082, cross-border, and more. And this is a big area of focus. And we even see here Volpay supports all major cross-border payments networks, which does include Ripple and even Swift. And then also over here, Volpay cross-border payments. Beyond this, we also have Fedwire with ISO 2022. Align it with many of the other payment systems around the world. Swift, for the most part, now supports the ISO 2022 standard. 2025 is the final cutoff date. The old system is done. It is. And we have Fedwire will get a boost from ISO 2022 and data-rich messaging. And we even see Chad quoting this post that I just read. And we even see, like, by the end of 2025, the city and country will be required to be in precise fields, which, even as simple as it sounds, as Sullivan acknowledged, is a vast improvement from over long-standing practices. And I do want to go over to this video because this is from XRP Drops, and this is actually the video that was included in this article. And we do see Fedwire and ISO 2022, the new standards aligns Fedwire with many other payment systems around the world. Swift has moved to ISO 2022. The fear of losing data is gone. Fedwire, a lot more response and also data. Check this out.
Would be happening to Fedwire in terms of modernizing and improving the process of doing these. As you mentioned, these are high dollar transactions. Certainly, I think would apply to a number of use cases. What would ISO 2022 do here?
Well, probably the single biggest thing that ISO will do for Fedwire is align it with many of the other payment systems around the world. There is a fairly significant portion of the Fedwire volume that actually ends up either originates or ends up overseas. Most of those payments are flow through what's a network called Swift. and Swift has moved to ISO. So, those systems have never been aligned before in terms of using the same format. And I'm not going to say they're 100% match, because we've had to have that disappointing discussion with a lot of our customers that ISO is not necessarily one flavor, that different systems have implemented it slightly differently, but it is still vastly the same. So being able to transport data without fear of dropping data or having to wedge it into fields that aren't really fit for purpose is one of the biggest things with Fedwire. There are also some improvements in terms of messaging, much more standardized, a lot more response. So with Fedwire, certainly when you send a Fedwire to the Fed, you got a response saying, yeah, I got it. But if you sent a request for payment, which is called a drawdown in Fedwire terminology, or if you sent a request to have money returned to you, you didn't necessarily get a response unless it was a positive or a negative. Now there are specific message types that can be used to respond, even if it's just to say, yeah, I got it, I'm looking at it. But that's a huge difference for banks. At least you know somebody's paying attention to you and you don't have to continually send follow-up messages to ask what's going on with it.
So there you guys have it. And, beyond this, again, ISO 20022 is opening many doors of opportunities. It's also bringing everything in terms of payment systems into, this new digital age. This is going to be a very, very significant update. And, outside of all of this, we have already seen major traction on the forefront of tapping in to DLT, blockchain, and it's all because of this new environment that is happening regarding banks. The number one thing that I always look at with ISO 20022 is the mandatory change of technology for banks, because we're already starting to see a few banks like HSBC, for example, tapping into digital asset custody services. Why do you think that they're tapping into custody services right now at a time where we're starting to see this major transition to new standards, but also we're starting to realize that DLT and blockchain is so damn disruptive, and that's why we have the IMF and the BIS and all these major organizations talking about DLT and blockchain so heavily, and they're also talking about CBDCs. They're talking about this new world of finance that is basically being forged through crypto. Why do you think that the major banks are looking at digital asset custody services? Why do you think that they're looking into, new payment rails? Why do you think that they're looking into new technologies? It's because with ISO 20022, we're going to see a mandatory change on the technology side of things. We're going to start to see these major banks tapping into the most disruptive, the most efficient, and the best-in-class technology. And we already know that Ripple is being pioneered through many names, like, for example, Volante, which is a very large name around the financial space, and it's for good measure. They understand, they get it, they realize how disruptive Ripple with XRP has been. And outside of all of this, we're now going to start to see Swift tapping into third-party players with APIs. This is a very exciting moment for crypto, for digital assets, and for this entire space. Again, is it going to result in XRP skyrocketing tomorrow and the next day? And no, it's not going to do that. We're not talking about price action here. We're talking about steps that need to be taken in order for the full vision to be realized in. But I'm very excited about this. I think everyone should be excited about this as well, because this is what we want to see. We're starting to see the change be realized in. I know that we've been waiting for a while on this, but hey, it's finally happening. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Peace out.